Hello, Stan. Making you a video to help you out with changing the brake hoses on your 190 SL. And your problem that you described to me was the right front brake hanging up, I believe, and sticking. And by the time you got back to your place, a little light smoking was going on. And this is a common problem on these cars, and it's all due to the flexible rubber brake hoses swelling up internally. And what happens is that they swell internally, and it acts like a one-way check valve. You can, with your foot on the master cylinder, you can generate a lot of pressure going through the hose and into the wheel cylinder, but the return springs on the shoes are not strong enough to pull the piston back in and squeeze brake fluid back the other way. So you end up with a brake that is locked up. Now, if it happened to all four at the same time, that would be a different issue. The booster is a problem, or the master cylinder is not releasing. But if you got one wheel locked up, then it's the hose is swollen internally. Another way you can check to make sure your brakes are in good, are not sticking, is with the vehicle on a level ground. You should be able to. What I do is I back into it with my knees and just start walking backwards, and you should be able to roll the car very easily like that. And if you can't, then you've got brakes hung up someplace. And what I'm going to try to show you is how to keep you from prevent you from ruining brake lines like other people have, and I have learned the hard way myself. And this is your setup that you're going to have on the car. This is not a 190 SL brake line. It just represents a brake line. And this is what's going to be on the car. You've got your bracket here, or your fender well. And this clip, anti-rattle clip, is on here holding everything in position. And you have your brake line screwed into your brake hose. And generally there's going to be some extra thickness here, and so a lot of times you'll have this clip collapsed, and so that it's in a U shape, and you've got your fitting, your swivel fitting, kind of buried into this clip. And the problem is that over a period of years, water gets into this fitting right here and rusts the swivel fitting to the steel brake line. Originally these were copper plated, and that's what kept them from seizing and rusting years ago. But obviously the copper is not a durable plating. It oxidizes and fades, and it goes away, and what you're left over with is steel. And so the problem is that what people want to do is come in here always with your flare nut wrench, and you want to get your flare wrench nut wrench here, and you want to get the other one here. And what you want to do is people want to just start wrenching on the swivel fitting right here, because that's what you're supposed to do. It's designed to be the part that swivels and moves and releases. Well, unfortunately, that's going to be rusted right there. And so what you're going to, and if you just start cranking on it, you're going to end up with what we've got here, either a broken line, or you can see the flats are really bunged up on this line right here, and you start to get rounded off. Next thing you know, you got vice grips on there. So this is what I suggest. I was not fully prepared. Okay, this is what I suggest you do. Since you're replacing the line anyway, what you're going to do is simply cut the rubber hose, which is what I've done here. I've actually already done these brakes, these hoses on a 190 SL. I'm going to show you next. All you do is cut the hose. You're going to you're getting rid of the hose anyway. The hose is sacrificial. It's no longer of any benefit. And what you have is, this one's not too bad right here, but what you're going to have is this part is going to be, you'll find it swollen internally. All right, so now you've cut the hose, and you can unscrew this part from the fitting that goes into the either the distribution block in the rear, or the brakes, the backing plate on the front. Your problem is with this guy right here, the female portion going into the male swivel fitting. And once you've cut the hose, you'd be able to stabilize your swivel fitting and then get your 14 millimeter flare nut. If you don't have, in fact, at this point you can get rid of the flare nut, but I don't like using this 12 point here. Get you a 6-point wrench and get on here. And so stabilize this part right here and unscrew this from the swivel fitting. That's assuming it's going to come off peacefully. A lot of times they don't. And what I'll have to do is I will actually take my torch and I'll heat up this part right here. I want to expand this part right here, and I want to break the rust bond inside here. And eventually it gets hot enough, and what will happen is what happened on this one is it will actually blow the rubber hose off. So you got to be prepared to have hot rubber hose and hot brake fluid blow out of here. It actually explodes like a firecracker. So I'm just letting you know beforehand, these things do not always come off peacefully, and you may have to heat them. And the reason for heating this and salvaging these parts, these pipes, is the rears are not too bad. If you bunged up one of these, you can buy new rears and you can install them without too much trouble. The big problem is on the front. The front line coming from the master cylinder to the right front goes across down the frame rail in the front, takes a jog across the front of the radiator, and then comes back the other way and goes on the inner fender. And you do not want to bung up these fittings on that hose, that line, because that's a real bear to change that one out. So this is your best bet is to always stabilize this fitting and unscrew your chopped off hose from the swivel fitting, and at that point, if you can unscrew this, that's great. And then at that point, you can come in here and you can start working this back and forth. If this is frozen, get your PB blaster on it, get it lubed up, and then if you are in fact having to use your torch and heat things up, have a spray bottle of some kind of fluid that'll quench the fire if things get out of hand. And then if you want to be a real good person, what you do is you'll use some anti-seize on this part right here, and so that the next person will not have to worry about the torch. Now we're going to go out and actually look at the car itself. So excuse the jiggly camera for a little bit and give you an idea what you're going to be up against on the car itself. Let's start with the rears. The easy ones. Oh, let's see. That's right. I forgot to. Oh yeah. Let me go back here. I forgot to mention. You're gonna want. What your tools you're going to be needing is an 11 millimeter for the swivel fitting and 14 for the hose fitting. And you're going to want your shortest wrenches because you don't have any room to work with in the back to speak of. So these are actually a little on the long side. And then you're going to want to use, once you break it free with the flare nut, then you use an open end to finish removing the swivel fitting, because there's no room to work back there. Same thing with the 14. Again, you do not need the long wrenches because you cannot put a whole bunch of pressure on here and potentially round off these flats and ruin that fitting like that. Okay, so back to the car itself. All right. Underneath the car itself, here's the part where you're going to screw the brake hose off the steel line, and it goes up. It's not too, you can't really see it, but it goes. Let's get the hose, get the camera up in there. Anyway, that's where the hose terminates into the other fitting right here. So you're going to hit the, you may need to use the torch at two different places on the yes, on the right side. Okay, on the left side, goes into this terminal right here. That generally is not at all hard to unscrew. And you come over here, and let's see if we can see it up here. And the other, and there's where the other hose fitting is, and that's where you're going to use, you may need to use your torch. And again, you be very careful, but if you do round these off, you can replace these lines, but you sure don't want to have to do that. Now, going to the front, and damn, long ways down there. Okay, the front. Well, it's easiest thing to do is, of course, you need to pull your front tire off, and you'll see that you got your brake hose right there going into the fender, inner fender, with a washer right there to help stabilize it against the hole that's in the fender. Coming up here, you can't see at all where that brake line terminates. And I'm going to have to show it to you. Let's see if I can do this here. Two different. Okay, this is, might show a little bit right here. No, not really. What I'm looking at is this. This is a cover plate right here, and that's a cover plate. That's held in place by two Phillips screws, and that's a heat shield made out of aluminum with some asbestos behind it. And that heat shield is on top of the swivel fitting that you want to get to remove your brake hose. And as you can see, it's very buried. What you probably have to do is pull off this air collector. If not, unless your arms are really long and flexible, you can get your hand underneath here and do work like that. But it's going to take two people generally, someone to hold on the inside, and then someone to well, to hold on the inside here, and then someone to undo these swivel fitting there. Now back over to the driver's side. Again, you've got your washer, and the driver's side is not much better. Let's see if I can even, and there it is down there underneath this extra inline fuel filter. Let's move this, see if this will stay right there. And yeah, all right, well, it's right down here, and you got your U-shaped clip on there. Let's see if I can get the camera down here. I can't tell if I'm photographing this or not. Anyway, that's where it is down there, and that's what's involved in replacing the hoses. And like we discussed on the phone, you replace all of them at the same time, because if one's going, the others are sure to follow. Let's see if there's anything else in here I forgot. Don't think so. Don't think so. All right, that's it. Good luck.